Hi everyone, I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much for joining me. I do not cover about illegal hiring here in the United States or the ICE raids. But there was something that I found out about the warrant that was issued for the raid there at Glass House. Evidently, it probably stems from a 2024 lawsuit that was filed in Los Angeles Superior Court, alleging systematic violations of unpaid overtime and unrealistic quotas of work. More likely, the lawsuit was filed by U.S. citizens or somebody, or a group of people, I should say, that were here legally with green cards to work at their marijuana facility. So I'd like to know who organized the protests when the ICE agents showed up. That lawsuit is what brought Glass House under scrutiny for their labor practices, and 10 children were found to be working there. Who brought in the 500 protesters that faced off with the ICE agents and National Guard? Why isn't the United Farm Workers Union, UFW, protecting the miners? They acknowledged that farm workers are often excluded from basic child labor protections, and teenagers working in the fields are not uncommon. So they know it's a problem. Why aren't they doing something about it? I am for legal immigration to the United States, not illegal. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, backed by the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, and National Guard troops, conducted raids at 2 Glass House Farms cannabis facilities in Caparina, Santa Barbara County, and Carmelo, Ventura County, both of them there in California. Glass House Farms, a state-licensed cannabis grower and one of the largest in the U.S., was targeted for allegedly employing undocumented workers. The raids resulted in approximately 200 arrests, primarily of suspected undocumented immigrants, and sparked significant protests, injuries, and 1 death. They are also now under investigation for child labor violations. 10 children were found working there, 6 of them without a guardian or a parent, and one was as young as 14 years old. For the amount of money that they bring in, being one of the largest pot farms in the United States, one, you'd think they could hire legal Americans and definitely would not hire underage children. So why were they? Federal agents executed criminal search warrants at Glass House Farms, a 5.5 million square foot facility there in California. I guess it's in greenhouses. The operation involved military-style vehicles, helicopters, and crowd control measures like tear gas, rubber bullets, and flashbang grenades, leading to chaotic clashes with protesters. About 200 workers were detained, with estimates varying from 100 to 200 across different sources. 3 people were hospitalized and several others were treated at the scene. A farm worker, Jamie Alanis, died on July 11th, 2025, after falling 30 feet from a greenhouse roof during the Camarillo raid. There's no evidence that he was being pursued, but different protesters, family members saying he was being chased. DHS claims he was not pursued, but the United Farm Workers, UFW, reports he was fleeing agents. Hundreds of protesters, including family members and advocates, gathered at both sites, blocking roads and confronting agents. In Camarillo, over 500 protesters faced off with agents who used tear gas and less lethal munitions, injuring a Caprina city council member and prompting criticism from U.S. Representative Salud Carpajal, who was denied entry to the Carpetina site. DHS and CBP officials stated the raids targeted child labor violations, claiming 10 undocumented juvenile, one as young as 14, were found at the Carmelo facility. Glass House Farms denied knowingly employing minors and stated it complied with valid warrants. Critics, including Governor Gavin Newsom, who it's been found out has been given a donation from Glass House back in, I think, 2018 of $10,000. And UFW President Teresa Romero called the raids militarized and cruel, arguing they targeted hardworking farm workers and disrupted communities. The raids left families searching for detained loved ones, with some U.S. citizens reportedly held and forced to delete raid footage before release. The UFW noted unaccounted workers, including citizens, and the California Rural Legal Assistance is aiding detained workers, some of whom have signed voluntary deportation orders under duress. A federal judge ordered a temporary halt to some of the Trump administration's aggressive immigration tactics on July 11th. You know, many of the workers, I believe, there in Ventura and Santa Barbara, the people that come across the border, they have green cards that allow them to work. So why didn't these people have green cards? 100 to 200 people working at the farms, and the Glass House employers never checked to see if they had green cards to work here? What was that? And supposedly the man that fell from the roof and later died, he was working as security there at the facility. Now, if Jamie Alanis, who's the fellow that died there, falling 30 feet from the roof of the greenhouse, if he had a green card, why would he be running? Does anyone know the answer to that question? While Glass House Farms claims to verify workers' documentation internally, some posts that have been put on X suggest that they may use outside employment agencies to source labor, particularly for farm workers. You know, this is common in agriculture, where agencies often provide temporary or seasonal workers. However, Glass House has not confirmed this, and there's no definitive evidence in available data that I could find. They rely heavily on such agencies. The company is led by CEO Kyle Kazan and President Graham Farah, who shape its operations and hiring policies. Their focus is on vertical integration, such as cultivation, retail, and distribution. The requirements that's needed for a diverse workforce, from growers to delivery drivers. Now, on the Glass House Farm employment page, the career page, the job boards, different roles that they hire for is called junior growers, assistant growers, post-harvest managers, and track and trace supervisors, handling planting, harvesting, and quality control. Once again, it's a 5.5 million square foot greenhouse. They also look to hire specialists, as they're called, delivery drivers, and warehouse logistic staff managers, such as for sales and transportation of the cannabis products across Southern and Northern California. They also hire what's called support roles for HR professionals, compliance experts, and security personnel support operations. The fellow that died evidently was one of the security personnel. Now, Glass House claims to adhere to strict hiring practices requiring workers to be at least 21 years old and denying any knowing employment of minors. So they probably had fake ID. These 10 children probably stole somebody's identity to work there. Or would someone from the HR give them the illegal identity so they could work. I don't know. That's got to be investigated too. What do you think? There must have been some evidence so they could execute the criminal search warrants. Some judge had to have signed the warrant so ICE could go in. The search warrant evidently was targeting alleged illegal employment, which would have been, underage and undocumented. So the United Farm Workers, UFW, noted that farm workers are often excluded from basic child labor protection, and teenagers working in the field is not uncommon. So what is the United Farm Workers doing about this? Putting children to work in the fields. Why aren't they trying to protect, the minors? Where does the United Farm Workers get their money? Evidently, too, back in 2024, glass house workers sued the company in Los Angeles County Superior Court, alleging systematic violations like unpaid overtime and unrealistic quotas. Yeah, this history context definitely does add to the current scrutiny of their labor practices that they do there at Glass House. So I imagine it was U.S. citizens that brought up the lawsuit against Glass House. Illegals want to keep their head down, and these companies just take advantage of these illegal workers. They're probably, makes you wonder how often were they, getting screwed out of their wages. I'm not surprised that Gavin Newsom isn't trying to at least verbally protect this company. The co-founder, the president, and board director, Graham Farah, has made numerous political donations to the Santa Barbara County Democratic Central Committee, the Federal Political Action Committee, and Salud Carbajal, and that's all according to the Federal Election Commission records. Also in the public campaign finance records, he also donated $10,000 to California Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom in 2018. And his most recent public political donation was to California Democratic Assembly member Greg Hart in July of 2023. What other types of donations were under the table? I have to wonder. What do you think? Do you think they got maybe some freebie samples of some really good pot? There's a lot of questions I like to have answered. What are your thoughts? Put your comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.